So just before we start, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Katarzyna Walczyk-Matuszyk from Poland, NCP Poland. I'm the coordinator of the NCP WideNet project, but also the leader of the module within the NCP Academy dedicated to widening and synergy. And today, jointly with my colleagues, I will have the pleasure to present you the content of the webinar. So now I would like to ask the other speakers for the short introduction.
Okay, good morning everyone. My name is Wojciech Adamiak and I am widening NCP here in Poland, and today I will give you a short overlook on the Polish performance in widening package.
Hi, I'm Kasper Skalnic. I'm NCP for Latvia, and I'm mainly famous for playing around with statistics. So this is what we're gonna present today as well.
Okay, thank you, Wojciech and Kaspars, for the presentation. The scope of today's webinar is actually to give you an opportunity to get familiar with the impact of widening package within the years 2014-2018. And as Kaspars mentioned, the main topic of the webinar is to give you the aggregated statistics, maps and patterns of collaboration for widening and advanced countries in regard to the widening instrument, which are the teaming, both phases, twinning, ERA-chairs. We will try to show you the development and trends. And at the end of the day, we will focus as well deeper into two case studies, so Poland and Latvia. So you will have the opportunity to see the case study of the big country, big widening country, and the small widening country. In this case studies, we will focus as well on strategies and impact of the widening package at the institutional and national level. The agenda of the webinar will be therefore as follows. Firstly, I will start with the introduction of the widening package, and I will tell you a few words on the indicators, so why these countries are widening. Afterwards, Kaspars will tackle the issue of the aggregated statistics and collaboration maps, as well as the case study Latvia. Then Wojciech will present you the case study Poland, and at the end of the day, we will have a quarter or more, depending on the amount of the questions, to reply to your questions. Okay, so let's start. Widening package, instruments and indicators. How does it work? The history of schemes supporting low-performing countries in the framework programs is reaching far behind the Horizon 2020. So there were specific instruments already in the FP5, FP6, the INCO projects, but also in the FP7. In the FP7, we have a RECPOT scheme dedicated to support centers of excellence in the low-performing regions. In Horizon 2020, the intervention was set at the national level. So instead of the low-performing region in terms of the research and innovation, we have low-performing countries. And this, the entire package was created, the package which was named the Spreading Excellence and Widening Participation. The package is based on the logic that some countries experience low participation in the EU framework programs because of many obstacles. These obstacles are related to the issues at their national R&D systems, but also at the institutional systems and other circumstances causing the exclusion of the countries from the core participants of the framework program. So as we can mention the main barriers, this could be insufficient national R&D investments, lack of synergies between research systems and the EU research landscape. So countries could have different priorities than the EU current policies. System learning effects. It takes a lot of time for the countries and institutions to adopt to the rules of the framework program, to build the networks, to build the visibility, and afterwards successfully participate in the framework program. Then reduced access to the international network. This is also very important barriers. As you know, the majority of Horizon 2020 in terms of the budget dedicated is going to the limited number of the organizations. We call it the closed clubs, and afterwards as well, one barrier could be identified as problems with information communication, as training. However, it differs from country to country. So these are the general issues. Of course, if we go deeper into each of the widening country, there could be as well other barriers, or some other barriers could be more relevant. I've mentioned that the low participation of the countries in the framework program. So here you have the final results of the FP7 budget share per country in percentage. So you can see that there is a significant group of countries from the EU 13 especially, but also Balkans, and as well here you have Portugal, who are lagging behind in terms of absorbing the budget from Horizon 2020. And these countries are called widening member states. As I have presented to you the intervention logic of the widening package, as well as the identified barriers, very important is as well the support designed by the European Union for the financial perspective 2014 and 2018. Next to this spreading excellence and widening participation package, also the Juncker plan was partially designed to support the participation and to support the expenditure on research and innovation, and of course European structural and investment funds. Because if you compare the maps of the absorption of the Horizon 2020 to the map of the absorption of the structural funds, you can find out that the countries, especially of the EU 13 and Portugal, Balkan countries, they have, those who are the member states especially, they received so far quite a significant support from the structural funds. However, keep in mind the structural funds are not meant, are first of all meant to help the regions lagging behind in terms of the GDP to join the European League. So the support within the structural funds is dedicated rather to support the infrastructure, to support the entrepreneurship. And it's true, it's dedicated as well to support the research and innovation, but rather in terms, let's say, of equaling the disparities. Horizon 2020, whereas, is dedicated to support the excellence and also to bring those institutions to the European League in terms of the excellence. Okay, so what are the main instruments of the widening package? The main instruments in terms of the budget, but also the significance, is the flagship initiative called teaming. It's about the institution building. The teaming is divided into two phases, phase 1 and phase 2. And is dedicated to the small consortia with the lead of the Center of Excellence from the widening country, with a partner from an advanced country or partners, because the consortium to the teaming can have only 2 members. It's an exception towards the Horizon 2020. And within the phase 1, the consortium received funding for preparing a business plan of the operation for the center for the future. And if the teaming consortium is successful in delivering this business plan, can as well submit a proposal for the phase 2. And the phase 2 of the teaming is much more significant in terms of the budget and meaning. So the Center of Excellence, jointly with the partner, are receiving up to 15 million euros to build a flagship center in the widening country that should be a leader in a scientific but also innovation domain in the country, in the region, and in Europe. A very important part of teaming are synergies. So the European Commission requires from the consortium to have a parallel or supplementary funding reaching at least the same amount they are requesting from the European Commission. So if the consortium is claiming for 15 million euros, they should also have the support of the 15 million euros from. It could be a member state, it could be regional funding, or it could be a combined funding from other sources, like for example, hosting organization or other grants. So in total, the maximum grant for the teaming consortium is 30 million euros. So as you can see, it's a lot of money for building such centers. So far, we had 2 calls of the teaming phase 1 and 1 call for the teaming phase 2. We have 11 teaming centers, but Kasper will present it in details afterwards. And currently, the call for the teaming phase 2 is running. Today actually is this is a very important day, because this week there are the hearings of those teaming consortia who submitted the projects, the proposals to the call of the teaming phase 2 and managed to receive the amount of the score which qualified them to the hearings. So by the end of March we should have results. Then we have the other scheme, which is the twinning. It's about institution networking. As you saw, I have mentioned in my first slides that the limited participation in European networks and low visibility of the Center of Excellence are the important obstacles of the participation of the Centers of Excellence and the widening countries in Horizon 2020. So twinning helps to build a network with advanced partners and gives funds for organizing a capacity building scheme, summer schools, exchange as well of staff, secondments. It should be, of course, built all around some scientific idea. And last but not least, the ERA chairs. ERA chairs is about bringing excellence to the institution. It's a very interesting scheme. It's a mono-beneficiary proposal. It helps to bring a distinguished researcher, experienced researchers in terms of doing research in certain domain, but also in terms of being able to do a reform of a research institution and build links with the socio-economic environment and also build links with the international environment. So the hosting institution who is applying for grant has sufficient fund afterwards to hire this person who, as I mentioned, will help to change the institution into the European leading center. All of these actions are in the form of this CSA. And so far, there were any possibility to finance research or equipment infrastructure costs. However, now in the last year calls, the Commission allowed a very small percentage of the grants to support as well the research part, because it was a request of the research environment from the widening countries. Okay, and within the package we have as well NCP communication and support scheme, which is the NCP WideNet project we are representing. Policy support facility, so it's about experts going to selected country, widening country, doing, let's say, the screening of the policies in the domain of the research and innovation, and afterwards providing a report, what could be changed. And last but not least, the cost. You are very much familiar of the cost, most probably. Half of the budget, the cost actions are coming from the widening package. So it's about stimulating cross-border and the science network. We call the cost a first step to Horizon 2020. The total budget of the package is approximately 800 million euros. Those of you who are involved in the preparation of the Horizon Europe, you have the knowledge that in the future framework program there is a plan to extend the budget of the future package, which should be called sharing excellence and widening participation. How the countries were selected to be qualified into the widening package. So the countries of the coordinators for the schemes mentioned of the teaming, twinning and ERA chairs. The Commission decided to implement a composite indicator of research excellence. which I will elaborate later on. And those countries who were below 70% of the EU average in regard to this composite indicator were identified as the low R&D performing or the widening countries. And here you have the lists of the member states who are considered as widening countries and associated countries to the Horizon 2020 who are as well widening countries and can use the support of the widening package as coordinator. From the member states, it's easy to see that those are mainly the EU 13 countries, with Portugal, but also with Cyprus and some countries as well of course, of some Balkan countries. So what is the widening indicator about? This widening indicator is the indicator which is composing of 4 elements. Highly cited publications per total publications, PCT patents per population, sum of ERC grants per public R&D, top universities and public research organization per GERD. Here I provide you with a link to the JRC webpage where you can see detailed calculations. I will show you in the next slide, when you can see detailed calculations for each of the European Union country and as well the European average. So taking the first widening country from the list, which is Bulgaria, for example, you can see here the number of the highly cited publications per total publications, and the data are for the years 2007, 2012. Afterwards, we have the patents, the ERC grants, and the top universities. The average European Union in the overall score in the 2012 was the 47.8. Then I would like to as well recommend you a very interesting publication by the European Commission. I give you here the link where you will have the possibility to find out the detailed and very deep analysis of particular widening countries, so country per country. Here I'm only showing you 2 examples, so the key indicators for Poland, as you can see. In the table, you have the composite indicator of research and excellence for Poland. So you can see in the 2010, for example, it was 24.5. So Poland was ranked as a 21st country in European Union in regard to the research excellence. Therefore, Poland was as well qualified as the widening country. Afterwards, you have Latvia as an example, and Latvia was qualified as the 27th country having this composite indicator of research excellence at the level of 11.5. As I mentioned in this publication, you may go far, far beyond these numbers and learn as well about specializations of particular countries in regard to the thematic domain, in regard to the innovation issues, as well as in regard to the position in certain aspects of framework programs in the European Union. So the result of this exercise on the compound indicator research excellence was as follows. The countries marked as red initially at the beginning of the Horizon 2020 were identified as widening countries. So as you see, the 70% of the threshold was 33.5 as a threshold value. So the first country which was just below the threshold was Hungary. Our 2 case studies, Poland is somewhere in the middle of the widening country, and Latvia at that point at least was a bit lagging behind. If you would like to learn more on the what's on the specific of the widening countries as well, on the case studies of the centers of excellence, on the obstacles which are facing the centers of excellence, but also on the opportunities they are having, I would like to strongly recommend you the benchmark report, analysis of centers of excellence in the view of teaming and twinning potential. The report is presenting several case studies, but also analysis, is not that detailed in terms of numbers as I've presented you the publications below, but it's very nice, I think, for the NCPs to learn more on this report on the widening case studies, and it's available at the NCP WideNet EU. Then there is also other publication which I would like to recommend you, is about how to participate in the widening actions. It's available at the NCP WideNet EU. The current version, the new version adopted to the new calls will be available very soon at our web portal. Before I will give the floor to Kaspars, I would like just to mention you about the future of the widening indicator, the future of the widening package and the indicator of the excellence, because as you know, there is currently there are works under Horizon Europe and also the indicator. So just to give you the direction the European Commission would like to go is that the Commission would like to as well implement, next to the parts of the indicator which are related to the excellence, also some economic indicators based on results of the country in terms of the economy. So we will have as well this indicator included, and it's quite interesting because after at least our simulation, the list of the widening countries will be a bit different than it is currently. Okay, so it was my short introduction. Hopefully it gives you an overview on what is about widening, and now let's give the floor to Kaspars.
Thank you, Katarzyna. I will continue with a case study and with widening instrument what we build for analytics, or let's say for statistic analysis. Within the analysis, I will focus on only, wait a minute, I should be sure if I can click it, yes. I should focus only on three particular thematics, which is teaming, twinning, and error chairs, because by the Commission standards and by Commission's information dashboard, there is not much information given for, let's say, cost actions, because cost actions is only one group of money dedicated only for Belgium cost association, not in details for any other participants. That's the reason, from a statistics point of view, there's only data available for teaming, twinning, and error chairs, and this is kind of most interested for all of us, and that's the reason why we did build this dedicated tool for not only for all NCPs but for stakeholders as well. So just in a short, what widening package is all about, it's about coordinate support actions, and technically, as you see from a numbers perspective, it's up to 15 million for teaming projects, which not include, it's a Commission's contribution, twinning up to 1 million and currently changed to 0.8 million, and error chairs up to 2.5 million for single beneficiaries, one of the beneficiary calls. So it kind of gives a glimpse amounts of projects within those different thematics. What's currently is on within our project webpage, and this is kind of gives you an indication with a color scheme what we selecting like this. Within the NCP WideNet project webpage, you can find the tool what I will be presenting in a short timing, this analytics, which comes here, and I would strongly suggest you to go to the web page and try to click it, because you can work on in a parallel of the speak, and I think it will be much more added value if you can have already your hands experience. So if you're clicking on this widening analysis tool, you will be guided to a tool which currently is on a Latvian NCP data system, and its tools looks like this. I will stop sharing for a second the screen of here and then show you how it's going to look like on a screen from my browser. So I will quickly share this one. So I hope you are back and we see it perfectly. So when you go into project web page, you see the analytics, and in analytics you click this tool and it comes here, and as you see, teaming, twinning, error chairs, about and countries and summaries. It's in line with a dashboard, so I will advise you to click for the WebGate dashboard, and for both the statistics and thematics projects, you can select 2 of those just to have a glimpse, and I will continue with my presentation and we'll come back to those as well. So now I'm gonna switch the screen and hopefully we'll get back in a second. Yes, sorry, it took a bit longer. Yes, so first I will start with button, which is less relevant, which is about. Well, about is about explaining which calls are currently in statistical analysis. Just to be sure that when we're talking about, currently there's evaluation phase of last call results, and they are not yet included. Whenever you're going to come back to the web page and to see the statistical results, you want to be sure that you are actually on a page with the most updated results. So that's the reason I advise you to go first to About section and to check have we updated the call results. Just to be currently, the disclaimer stands that this is an update of last year. Well, there is not yet last year's project proposals included. So just to have it in your background. So starting with the big ones, so calls in a glance. And as you see, if you click on a teaming, and instead of countries, you go to summary, you see those big pie charts. The pie charts give you a kind of indication how many millions being currently on the table for specific thematic, for specific calls. And as you remember from Katarzyna's presentation, it was 800 million was in total foreseen for widening. So let's put it this way, almost 1/4 of the money of that funding has been allocated for teaming calls. As you see here, it's a budget allocated for countries, and as somebody could imagine, widening countries are taking as a larger share. However, whenever you receive the project teaming phase, which is 50 million, it gives an extremely large push rather than just only having a preparatory action for teaming 1 phase and teaming 2. So teaming 2 gives those 5% of funding, while teaming phase 1 gives almost doesn't show you on a chart. On the same time, in teaming, you can see this table screen where you can see through how many millions, how many coordinations being supported by the country, how much project proposals being submitted. Well, honestly, it was a participant from a particular country. So technically, if you see here, let's say, let's start with Austria. So as you see, as Austria cannot be a widening, in a widening package cannot be a coordinators, there's a zeros for coordinations. And if we see, let's say, Bulgaria, which is first in line with widening countries, you see there's a 30 proposed projects, with 4 of them funded. So most likely, if we see it was a millions, you can understand if it's most likely 2 teaming phase 2 projects, if I'm correct. No, funded 1, so it means only 1 is funded. Next step is to go for a twinning. Again, within the twinning, you can see this general chart and general success rates, etc. Technically, I think I have a next slide, which is dashboard. And if you see in a dashboard, this is how it looks on a dashboard. The same information, just put it in a, well, let's put it alternative graphical description. And if we compare those total funding, it's again 97, and you see it's 97. So we have a good match, at least with statistical, meaning that our results match the Commission's official statements. And this is just to cross correlate that we are on the same page with with the same statistics was coming from Commission. We're just giving it a bit different, let's say, interpretation and different graphical review. So finally is error chairs. As you know, it's only mono-beneficiary calls, so there's no one besides widening countries. There could be some associate country, but currently there hasn't been any funded project so far. So if we have seen this big in a glance as summaries, so we should dial in on a country base. So for this reason, we have cut it into three separate groups: widening countries, advanced countries, and associate countries. Each of them has kind of, well, the group, because technically it makes no sense to compare, let's say, Latvia or Poland with the UK, because technically we are just comparing on different budget lines. And that's the reason, for comparison reason, we kept all associate countries, all advanced countries, and all widening countries in separate group baskets. And I thought it really makes sense, and it makes much more representative results which we're gaining out. So whenever you want to, because it's technically how it works. So if we click into the countries, and if it's widening or if it's teaming, twinning, or error chairs, once you select countries, you can come up and have this interactive map where you can click on each country what you're interested in, or in a parallel you have this drop down, not drop down, but just a list of countries. If you, well, sometimes it's very tricky to dial something and find out. I think it was some particular thing with Mediterranean countries which are almost not fitting in this map, so that's the reason we have well, the map is the map what we can have it, and then that's the reason it's like this. Anyhow, with a list, it's sometimes much easier to find the tiny countries somewhere located, and not a big, easy clicking as a Poland in our case. In this case, what we have in an example, it's UK. So once you click on UK, you can see those cross links with other countries, how many been funded projects together with this particular country, out of which how many participations. So granted is a first number, public proposals being on a second slash proposals. So it means if we see UK, and let's say having a cross-link with Poland, you can say that there's 4 funded projects with UK and Poland out of 34. Just to give a glimpse and an idea how often those networks are focused. In our case, it's sometimes, let's say in Baltics, it's quite straightforward. We're always telling that Estonians are more cross-linked with Finns than Latvians are. However, if you see on our graphs like these, it's just confirms that it's not true. And then sometimes those, meat-busting stories are really worth to explore and to see if it works like this or not. So, bar charts. Even though the bar charts is most simplest ways to represent something, and Commission always trying to show us a bar charts, there's not really any better means to show that in larger group how it works. So if we see from advanced countries, and as you see from this pinky, this pink color scheme, it's a twinning, and it's for advanced countries. And as you see, there's how many proposals been submitted and how many of those been granted. In comparison with European Commission's contribution, was numbers of participants, was a project perspective, etc. So from each of those, you can have this kind of success rate calculation, and you see how much is being involved, and even sometimes it looks as they are equally amount of projects being granted. However, this participation or proposals being just extraordinary large amount. Let's see in our case here, if we looking at, let's say, for UK, which is in our top list of granted proposals, it's almost 350, or or in case of Germany, it's almost 450 proposals in twinning with cooperation with Germany. So out of those, only below 50 proposals being granted. So it just gives a kind of glimpse how often it happens, and it's just a bit made best things that there is a golden keys that you can, if you will submit this proposal was somebody from, well, I don't know, say Italy or Germany, it's much more, let's say it has more hypothetically higher percentage of success. And as you see from each country, it's more or less 10%. So it's really doesn't matter of a country, it's all about this excellence and really a structure of your teams than just a country geographical distribution. Quite similar with widening countries, as you see from Portugal, which is leading the role. It's not only in a twinning and teaming, well, not teaming, so in a twinning and then air shares, it's really straightforward for Portugal. As you see the success rates, and as you see how this kind of slashes whenever they, let's say, how many projects being retained. Again, we can see, I would advise you to go for dashboard, because within the dashboard you can really dial into project proposal, well, granted project descriptions. And as we trying not to duplicate what you can find on a dashboard, it's important for users to, whenever you select something what you are interested in, just go for dashboard and you can click on the project from this particular country and have more detailed analysis. We are more focused on the networks and how it's kind of works together. So I will show it in the next slides. So what are we focused on is to understand those networks of the countries. They are not really simple meanings, and there's not really simple to explain how it works. But I see it's, instead of a Poland, it's a Portugal network. I'm sorry. As you see, there's a Portugal country, so it's a twinning projects, and which countries are involved and which institutions are involved. As it already has a lot of network links cross together. It's made out a small table when you actually can understand which is the acronyms of institutions, what are the names of the institutions, what are the real institutions behind it, because you can currently see only, let's say, countries like UK, Germany, Portugal, Denmark, Netherlands, or Sweden, and from Sweden, you see the next step like Chalmers University, and from Netherlands, you see LUMC, which is most likely Leiden Medical Center, or University of Maastricht. So out of this, you can see in which links they've been together. So from the University of Maastricht, you see how it's with University of Lisbon is being connected. And again, University of Lisbon being connected with 4 institutions, excuse me, 5 institutions in Portugal, and additional Polemy from Italy, and then I think it's Leuven University from Belgium. So in this network, you can dial in and try to understand who's behind whom. And with a table, it gives much clearer idea who's working where. So similar, when it comes to the funded projects, so there's one more table below the whole list. It's how much money being granted to which participant. So this is again a slide taken from a Eritrea slide, and as you see, all of them are just 2.5 or a bit less than those. So as it's mono beneficiaries, it's very simple, straightforward, and for the rest of the projects are a bit different. It's, well, what I'm using it is my NCP practice is that whenever people tell like, okay, this is a 1 million twinning project, and how much money being kind of allocated for, I mean, should I keep like most of it, or should I share with participants? And I said like, well, if you see from statistics point of view, most of projects who gains a project funded, they got in average like a 350K So to me, you need to share a lot with your colleagues, and if you don't share it, it's just unless likely you will get funded. So this is kind of lessons learned you can get from those type of informative informations. So coming to the twinning example, let's go in a twinning. This is associate countries. In association country level, I mean, we have this very good example from Serbia in a teaming, so it's been selected for twinning as well. In my analysis, technically, it has just more, let's say, in a bar chart, it has more kind of zero values. So it's less. There's a large number of countries which are less likely to participate in a twinning calls. And as you see, or not twinning or widening calls in general, as you see, it's only, let's say, 5. Well, to be honest, it's even including Ukraine. So it's 8 countries who have received some European commissions for twinning projects. And but however, from a coordination point of view, and if you see this as you see here, it's only Serbia has got several projects funded in a twinning call. So it's actually only 4 countries. So it's Serbia, I think it's Moldova, Tunisia, and Turkey has funded projects where they are coordinating them. So it's again gives a glimpse. As you see, Ukraine is very active. However, it's not yet has not yet been there. So it gives kind of glimpse what's happening even with associate countries. And yes, so case study. I think I should start to run into my example, because this is example, it's clicking when you kind of open the country Latvia. I want to understand how it works, and I just give a kind of explanation how it works on an example of my country. So I have 2 pictures taken, one from teaming, another for twinning, and it just gives an idea to which countries which currently is getting coordination out. So in a case of teaming, which is an orange one, as you see, we have a project called Kamar 2, and the project Kamar 2, the main partners are from Switzerland, Germany, and then Sweden. So that's the reason this map is not really widely covered. It's only one teaming phase 2 project being funded, and out of those funded projects, there's actually this result which comes out. On the contrary, when you're seeing on a right side, it's about twinning. And in a twinning, you see how it's almost like 6 countries linked together with Latvian entities and form that nice twinning collaboration. So quite similarly, if we see on a Polish case, so the teaming, the cross-links with a teaming, as you see, it's not really too often, well, not too dense. And in a case, let's say, it's really kind of, the main contributor was a teaming proposal. It's Germany. As you see, it's 23 proposals or participations together, while 5 being funded. And quite similarly, somebody would expect that there's much denser collaboration with UK, where there's actually only 1 funded out of 6 participations. So you can really see that there's a dense links in a teaming call with Poland and Germany. Well, similarly, we see it in a twinning calls, and as you see, I think it's Poland has a cross links. Let me quickly skip here. Yes, just to be sure, we have this cross link Poland and Latvia, so it's in one of the twinning calls, and as you see those funded, unfunded, there's a quite similar perspective. So it's 4 to 35 was UK, and however, if you see from Spain's perspective, it's only there's no funded project out of 28 proposals. So it gives a glimpse that maybe is the best what you want to show to somebody. However, this is a statistics, and it's clearly when it comes from. So again, coming to the pie charts, and if you see from a pie charts, in a teaming, whenever we receive this phase 2, which is brings a lot of money, it gives you on a bar chart of total funding. So that's the reason those widening countries which are here actually are those who have got secured the teaming teaming phase 2, the first calls. So the next one should be announced hopefully in a month or 2 months. So we're gonna find out, and then this will be updated to our webpage as well. So as you see from twinning, there's a Poland highlighted was 4% and Latvia highlighted was 1.1%. So we see from a total number, it's twinning. We were supposed to have as the widening countries are the main beneficiaries. However, as you see, Portugal is very active and 11%, while UK and Germany has almost as well 10%. So in this graph, you can quite easily identify the associate countries, so contribution for associate countries. However, again, for associate countries, we need to understand those who are more widening associate countries rather than advanced associate countries. So in a meaning of Switzerland, we should not mix it with Serbia. So it's because Switzerland is advanced partner, while Serbia is taking as a widening country or widening partner. So similar with the area chairs, as you see from our pie chart, there is none area chair project for Latvia, and that's the reason why it's a 0. And for Poland, it's high. Well, let's say Poland and Portugal are in quite a good and Cyprus in good position, while Estonians are just the champions for area chairs. And as you see from this pie chart, it's easy to identify and easy to go through and to understand it. Well, again, from the statistics, I would recommend to go back to the dashboard, and within the dashboard you can actually click on each project. Let's say from Estonian part, you go to area chairs, open the area chairs Estonia country select, and you will be narrowed down to only those projects currently funded. And for a homework, it really makes sense just to read and go through those projects and go to web pages and to get your knowledge out of funded projects. So in details, just technically for teaming, as you may see, we have those 3 funded projects, which is a 2 phase 1 and 1 phase 2, and out of this, for Latvia case, and out of this we have a 1.5 million retained funding, and technically we have a 3 coordinations funded coordinations. It's quite similar for Poland. There's a 6 coordinations funded. However, it's only phase 1, and that's the reason why you see the total funding from Commission is only 1.4 million euros. On contrary, requested 40 millions. So this kind of in a details by the country, I think it's this is a tool, or let's say a typical question what ministries ask, like what are we good or bad or whatsoever. So you can easily come here to our WideNet webpage and then just click it and then copy paste, and you are in good hands with the numbers, and an easy manner to find it, and an easy manner to go through with that. And I think this was kind of main thought in our backhead when we kind of made this tool, that we really need something which is easy and acceptable for NCPs and then for stakeholders. Just, okay, you want to understand it, this is the numbers. So this is helpful. I mean, I wouldn't say that they gives a lot of details, those numbers. However, they can give a glimpse and then like a background story if it's really a success, not a success, or whatever. Same with the twinning. You see the big numbers, and then you can go through with your interested country, and not only the Latvia. As you see from the details in the twinning, we have 3 funded projects. In the last call, we retained only 0. So technically, it's a quite not a happy story from country perspective. Well, I think it was a was a tool and was the knowledge and was help of other NCPs. I think we are hoping for the last call, and I'm not hoping, but I thought there was some strong proposals put forward, and out of those three which been funded, I see it's there is some learning curve which could maybe serve for us in Europe as a benchmark, as a starting point for teaming calls, and let's see how it evolves. And then hopefully by the next year we should have like already some kind of good success stories we can tell and maybe produce for widening WideNet NCP booklet. Anyway, so error chairs, as I told you before, we have out of 12 proposals like 0 success, and well, there's not much you can learn out of us. While in the Poland case, there's a 3 funded error chair projects, and it's kind of success. While we all need to go look our heads towards Estonians, which have really a high success story of error chairs. So in general, this is statistics, what we can learn out of it, and we can easily work with that. So it just gives whatever you can see in it on a web page. What's particular, if you see this graph, when you click on Latvia, you will be the Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia will appear, because for smaller countries, it makes sense that instead of just only one network, you see this regional network, and somehow we actually share the same institutions in well, almost the same institutions between ourselves. So it's again gives a kind of sometimes really a glimpse that it's not only like our institutions, but there's other institutions working with the same partners just in our region. Total funding for teaming, total funding for twinning, I couldn't put it in. However, as you see in a twinning, it's much wider networks. They are more cross-linked. They are more cross-linked between your countries. So those 3 projects actually has some similarities with other countries, and sometimes this gives kind of ideas at where it goes. And as you see, yes, we have this Finland connection, but we have both Estonians and Latvians has a Finland connection, so it's not really, as I said, this meet that it's only Finns are working with the Estonians. Anyway, that's kind of gives kind of back push when some of these like, no, they have a different story. So now I give up my floor to Wojciech, otherwise I'm taking too much time of yours.
Okay, welcome everyone. So I will take the last few minutes just to go through the Polish case study. Yeah, all those details about how to read those networks, this is something that Kaspars has already discussed. So, well, this is how it looks like. So, so maybe I will not spend too much time on that issue. What I can only say about statistics about Poland in terms of twinning and in terms of error chairs is that if you go through them, you will see that Poland performs pretty well. I mean, it's close to the European average. So if you look at the Polish success rate, which is about 7% in twinning, this is the level of the success rate, the average success rate in Europe. Yeah, as Kaspars mentioned, we have 3 error chairs out of 20 proposed, and we are still waiting for teaming phase 2 projects to be funded. And as Katarzyna said in the morning, this week is very, very important because we have well, hearings week. So we're keeping our fingers crossed for the applicants. Now, here you can see the coordinators of Polish winning, twinning, Erachers, and teaming phase 1. And basically what you can see is that in twinning, basically in this calls the large universities mostly participate. Whereas the Erachers, it looks like it's more for institutes, dedicated tool, and the reason for that is that it is much easier to perform some structural changes in terms of Erachers in the smaller institutes than in the large universities. And those institutes that you see here, both in twinning and Erachers, they are really highly ranked institutions in Poland. Now, here you can see there will be few slides about barriers and obstacles, and these are more or less the same as Katarzyna showed before. So we have structural gaps, we will have organizational gaps and things like this. But so I will not go through them, but in red I highlighted the obstacles, barriers that I have heard from people when I was meeting with them during last year. So people indeed in Poland complained about lack of, for example, high-level infrastructure at the institutions, and they told me that the reason why they did not apply, do not believe in widening tools, is that they think that the factor that can attract researchers to Poland is actually a high-level infrastructure, and this is something that they think Poland lacks. And the same thing with lack of time and personal competence in professional and bureaucratic issues. And at the universities, people are basically overloaded by teaching work. This is not the case for the research institutes. However, it is a kind of a very common obstacle for universities in Poland. And the other things, of course, we are all aware of the brain drain, and I have 10 years research experience in one of the Institute of Polish Academy of Sciences, and from my personal experience, I must say that I have experienced this brain drain when I was going to my first research internship to Ireland. I really thought that we are lagging behind, and then I was really surprised when I went there. I saw what they have. I started to work with people, and I realized that actually we are also good. Now, the other thing, the closed clouds, this is what Katarzyna mentioned, and this perception of high administrative burdens and low success rate. This is something that people, they are very clear about that. They say that the success, that they are asking about the success rate, and then they show that some national tools that we have are of much higher success rates. So why to bother and prepare the proposal? So those are mine. Let's say my observation from the last year of work. Now about some tools, the system that has been developed in Poland, to encourage people so they can submit more proposals and more high quality proposals. So from the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, we had, I translated as bonus on the horizon. It's about additional money for salaries for the research groups for projects that have been funded from the Horizon. So once the project is funded from the Horizon, then the ministry gives extra money for people for their salaries. So this is one thing, and the other thing from the ministry is grants for grants. This is also literal translation. So basically, once the project is submitted and it gets over the threshold, then the applicants may apply for money for kind of reimbursement of the costs that they had when they were preparing their proposals, when they were correcting the proposals, things like this. And the last thing here is we have developed in National Contact Point, together with the Ministry and the National Center for Research and Development, a kind of support system for teaming applicants. So we have organized a series of seminars, workshops for applicants of the teaming call. So we were inviting, we invited external experts who were discussing with the applicants their proposals, or who were addressing concrete issues related to the proposals, like, for example, business model canvas. And the same we did also before the hearing. So we believe they have been really well prepared. So this was kind of a dedicated tool for teaming applicants. And the last thing is I will just go through the success stories. We chose the ERA Chairs project Create from the Institute of Physical Chemistry, which is I think a good example of what the ERA Chair tool, what impact the ERA Chair tool may have on the institute. So the Institute of Physical Chemistry is, kind of, well, average Polish institute. I mean, it's not very big, it's not very small. They do chemistry, mostly chemistry research, but they have identified a need in their research that they wanted to shift towards biology. So to leave the chemistry for a while and move more towards biology, and that is the reason why they have chosen the ERA Chairs. And here there will be few numbers characterizing the impact of the ERA Chair on the institute. So before they got it, they were having just 13 papers a year dedicated to biology. Whereas once they get the ERA Chair holder, the number is 40 papers by year. They also managed to get higher category in Poland. In Poland, each research institution is categorized, and the best institutions, they have A+ category, meaning that they also have the largest amount of money, statutory money. So the ERA Chair also helped the institute to get into 5% of scientific units in Poland that have the A+ category. And of course, in twinning, in all widening tools, you have funds also for open access. So automatically the number of open access publications also increased. And as I spoke to people from the institute, they told me that the institute now is the most international institute in Poland. So 25% of all PhD students in the institute are foreign students, and the same with the principal investigators in the groups. So yeah, that would be all as a conclusion from that part, my personal view, I must say that I graduated from this institute, and when I give talks, when I give workshops on widening now, I usually say people that the widening is about, increasing the red bars, so we will get higher. So it's a really nice feeling. When I was working in the institute, it was really nice feeling to go back from the UK or from France internship and to the institute in Poland and see that actually there is no difference between the institutes. So well, I wish all widening tools may have this kind of impact. So this will be from my view, and I'm giving the floor to Katarzyna.
Thank you very much. So we have come to an end of our presentations. Thank you for being with us. We have a few questions. So let us address now these questions. The first three questions are related to the widening indicator, so this research indicator. Will there be any changes in the group of widening countries in Horizon Europe? The one question. Then will this group stay the same? And afterwards, what does it mean that in the HR excellence, Horizon Europe excellence indicator will be combined with excellence criteria? So first of all, there are now plans that the widening compound indicator, the widening countries should be categorized according to the excellence criterion and as well some economic criterion. In the economic criterion, it could be, for example, gross national income, and the countries which are placed below a certain level will be qualified to the group of widening, to the candidates for the widening countries, and afterwards examined using the excellence criteria if they will be qualified finally to the group of the widening countries. Will this group remain the same? If the economic criteria will be included, most probably not. As you know, today within the group of the widening country, there is a Luxembourg with the highest GDP per capita in Europe and one of the highest gross national income in Europe. So most probably it's far above the EU average. Most probably not, but we have some countries due to the economic crisis which drop much beyond the EU average in the economic performance, but also in the excellence performance due to economic crisis. So there is a chance that this group will include some other countries next to you, 13 countries or Portugal or the other current widening countries. What is very important as well, there is the discussion on the outermost territories to be included. So as it was possible in the RECPOT, in the 7th framework programs, that, for example, Réunion was eligible or Martinique was eligible and they applied for the grants. So these outermost territories of the countries could be as well. But as I said, the works just started. There is now the Romanian presidency, which is working hard on this new indicator, and we believe that later this year we will find out the final results of the discussions and negotiations between the countries. So now there is a question to Kaspars. Kaspars, if you could address the one.
Yes. There's definitely we're gonna implement on our webpage. However, there's one glitch. It's all about whenever Commission will update the e-Corda system, so we can do it as fast as e-Corda being updated. So we will do it. The teaming most likely will be the first. However, it sometimes happens that e-Corda is updated really, really late. I was replying to Anna's question.
Yes, thank you, Kaspars. Then we have the question, what does it mean top organizations for the country? Does it mean all organizations granted funding in a given scheme in all Horizon 2020 or just performing once? I don't know, Kaspars. I believe it's a statistical questions as well.
HE mostly means higher education. So institutions of higher education, there could be SMEs, higher education, research organizations, etc. I'm not certain if this is the question. I think it came during your presentation, Katarzyna's presentation.
Okay, now, yeah, I mentioned about Poland's success rate close to 7%. I meant, yeah, it's an average close to EU average on in twinning, not in general in widening.
Okay, so thank you very much. There were these were all the questions you raised to us. Once again, I would like to thank the speakers and the participants for being with us. As mentioned at the beginning, the presentation, today's webinar, was recorded, so you will have the chance to come back to it. Also, after this webinar, you will receive from Wojciech the questionnaire, and we would like to kindly ask you to fill in the questionnaire because it will help us in the future to target the needs and other questions during our webinars. So, on behalf of the Polish NCP and Latvian NCP, the colleagues, I wish you a nice and pleasant afternoon. Thank you very much.